Saudi-backed golf league, and it's just been the story. It's like you said, every day the narrative changes a little bit. It develops.
Let's do it. Monday edition. Don't mind me. I'm Jason Page. Good to have you along for the ride. Got a lot to get through in the next hour. NBA Finals. Game 5 tonight. The Warriors and the Celtics. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Yep. Avalanche. Tampa Bay Lightning will square off toe-to-toe in that Stanley Cup Final. We'll preview that a little later on in the week, working on a couple of guests for that. There is the Live Golf PGA Tour dynamic that continues to make news all around the sports world, and we'll obviously get into that. Oh, hi. Here I am, Jason Page. Good to see you. It works better when the right screen is on, isn't it? So anyway, for those of you listening on the podcast, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's an inside joke. So there's a lot to get to from the weekend. A lot of things that I want to kind of dive into. By the way, I got to talk about my bowling this weekend. I know. No, Jason, nobody wants to hear about your bowling. I used to be a decent bowler. Decided this year to get back into it after a few years off. Got rid of all my equipment. Wasn't going to bowl anymore. I'll get to it a little later on. So NBA final game 5 tonight. So far, by the way, on my best bet, which we do at the end of the show. Where is the best bet? See if I can find it here. There it is. Best bet. On my best bet, I've stunk. I've just been absolutely awful. And I'm 0-3. And it's leading me to wonder if we should do something else with that segment. Because I can't get it right. 0-3. It's like, but see, I kind of view it the same way you view a hitter that starts out the year like, 0 for his first 12. You got a guy who's typically a 300 hitter. He's a really solid guy at the plate. And he gets out of the gate slow. Has a great spring training. Then he struggles over the first, few games of the season. Just can't get a hit. Striking out a lot. That's me right now with best bet. It will get better. But I would be very cautious when taking my best bet. I'll leave it at that. So game 5 tonight. And look, momentum is on the Warriors' side after game 4. That was my latest incorrect best bet, by the way. Stephen Curry had a game for the ages. So much for that injury, by the way. He had us all fooled. And you're looking now at after a legendary performance from Stephen Curry, and there's no getting around it. Now people are starting to ask the question, is this the career-defining moment? The legacy-defining moment of Stephen Curry? Yeah, it's funny. I had a conversation with Peter King. I'll name drop for a second. I had a conversation with Peter King. Now, this is, when was this? This was a million years ago. This might have been a decade ago. Even longer than that. We were driving to the Pro Bowl. We were in a bus going to the Pro Bowl in Miami the week before the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. But anyway, Peter King and I are sitting next to each other on a bus. And he talks about why the Hall of Fame waits, I don't know, whatever the required time is, 5 years, something like that. And he goes, the reason we wait 5 years, look, is there any doubt that, the day Tom Brady retires, he's a Hall of Famer? Of course not. Is there any doubt that when Peyton Manning retires, he's a Hall of Famer? Of course not. Bill Belichick, Hall of Famer? Of course not. But we were having this conversation, and I don't remember what the context quite was, but he made the point of saying the reason we wait is to have a cooling off period, to have that length of time to sort of decompress, not make emotional decisions on who should be a Hall of Famer and who shouldn't be. And then we could have a calm, rational discussion where there's less of the emotion. There's always going to be some emotion. There's always going to be some emotion in these conversations. Because anytime you watch these athletes in whatever sport do what they're doing, it's going to elicit an emotion, and that sticks with you forever. There is no impartiality. Not in sports, not in news, not in anything. Everything comes from something. Every emotion comes from somewhere. An experience, a moment, whatever it may be. But in the case of, when people start to get into these conversations of legacy-defining moments, I kind of take my cues from that conversation I had with Peter King a million moons ago. And yeah, it's fun to have sports radio and TV and all these different debate shows where you can have these conversations and debates, but they're in the moment. They're filled with emotion. And in the case of something like career defining, I don't think you can understand truly what is career defining until you get to the end of the line. And you've had time after you get through that end of the line to have that conversation. Stephen Curry, again, future Hall of Famer, no doubt, put your stamp on it, done. But we won't know if this is the career-defining moment until it's over. It's like people who say, well, he just hit the biggest golf shot of his life. Well, up until this point, maybe. But if he goes up and misses the 5-footer for birdie to seal the tournament, well, that wasn't the career-defining moment. The career-defining moment was the gaff he made on the green. You know, that's why I always laugh when people say, career-defining moment, legacy-defining moment. It's not. It's not, and there's no way to get around that. It's fun to say, and it's kitschy and sportscasty and all of that, but it's not reality. It's not reality at all. Let me know what you think. If you got a thought, you could always send it to us in the chat box. You can hit me up on Twitter at the back page. There's all different ways to get in touch with us here on the show. Some of them are on the screen. You can see my Twitter handle, Facebook, Instagram. It's all. What is Bill Belichick call it? Face space. But is this the career-defining moment for Stephen Curry? Now, people are going to argue and tell you, and the narrative is this Warriors team is not as talented as this Celtics team. So if, ipso facto, if the Warriors should win this NBA title, and Stephen Curry is a big part of the reason why, it'll be that career-defining moment because he will have led them to a title despite the fact that they were not superior in talent to the team they were playing. I don't know that I necessarily buy that. I think this Warriors team is very talented. I don't think you do what they did in the regular season if you're not talented. But it is kind of interesting to see the way people are trying to, sort of shape the narrative and shape the career of Stephen Curry just based on what is happening in this one series. And he's like, look, it's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. All due respect to Pistol Pete Maravich, who I didn't get to see play. He's obviously a very special basketball player. But I don't know if it's a career-defining moment or a legacy-defining moment because we don't know what the rest of the career has in store for Stephen Curry. Hey, Google, how old is Stephen Curry?
Stephen Curry is 34 years old.
He's 34 years old. So, you could argue he's near the end of his career. Is he the kind of guy that's going to want to play until he's 37, 38? Hanging on? Maybe try and go win something with another team to prove he can? Or is he going to stick to playing in the Bay Area and the team that he came up with? The team that gave him an opportunity out of Davidson? I just think it's difficult to talk about the entire book when the final chapter of the book hasn't been written yet. So when you hear people talk about legacy-defining, career-defining moments, things like that, take it with a grain of salt because I just think it's one of those things that sportscasters throw out there. I'm Jason Page. Don't mind me on this Monday. I'm debating we might play back the Damon Hack interview later from Friday because it really is relevant to what's going on right now in this PGA Tour Live Golf controversy. And the PGA Tour got the greatest gift it could have gotten this weekend at the RBC Open, which is not, it's not a tournament that generally garners a lot of attention because it's the only tournament that's played every year in Canada. It's almost like Canada's national championship. But they got the greatest gift they could have possibly imagined this weekend. We'll get to that coming up in a couple minutes. Stanley Cup final. Look, I'm not going to go too deep into this because we plan to have a guest on it on Tuesday or Wednesday to talk about it, and I don't want to spoil who it is yet because we don't have a definitive, but I have some messages out to people. It looks like I got a alien coming out of my ear. But you can't be shocked that the Lightning wound up dispatching of the Rangers in 6 games. And there'll be plenty of time to talk about, in Rangers circles and Rangers podcasts and Rangers blogs and all those different things about the future of the New York Rangers being so bright. And that's great. But what we need to focus on right now is something that rarely happens in sports, and that is the Tampa Bay Lightning going for a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. And this isn't something that happens often in sports, much less in hockey. But here are the Lightning on the precipice of a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. And the only thing I'll say in previewing this series is this. We've seen what rest means when you get to this time of the season. I think what sunk the Rangers was tired legs. Yeah, do I think the Lightning are a better team than the Rangers? Yeah, by a little bit. But the Rangers were playing so well, riding so high. And you saw in Game 3 of that series, midway through, the Rangers are leading 2-0. It's about midway through the second period. They're up 2-0. They have a chance up 2-0 in the series to put the Lightning away. And then the legs went. And once the legs went, the series was over. You could just watch it happen. There's very few times in sports where even to the layperson something would be just blatantly obvious. And it may have manifested itself in people thinking, well, God, the Rangers just aren't putting out the effort. No, they were exhausted. 2 7-game series, one of them including a 3 overtime game. The Rangers were just out of gas. And the Lightning were coming off a 4-game sweep. They had plenty of gas in the tank. Now, does that same situation apply to the Stanley Cup final? Well, the Lightning do get a few days off because the series doesn't start till Wednesday. They put away the Rangers on Saturday, so they get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, then back on the ice Wednesday. But the Avalanche have played very few games in this postseason. Sweep, sweep. Anyway, we'll get into it later this week. We'll get a guest on it, but I'm not gonna go too crazy on it because I don't pretend to be a hockey guy. I understand the sport. Did play-by-play for high school hockey when I was a kid. So I get the sport and I understand it. It's not something I'm gonna go detailed X's and O's on. But when we return on this Monday edition of Don't Mind Me, I think we've got to start talking about what could be the largest baseball contract of all time. Now, I know in another year that may change, and a year and a half that may change, but we could be talking about the largest contract ever for a Major League Baseball player. Who am I talking about? I think you may have a clue. Think you might have some idea who I'm talking about. We'll talk about it coming up in a couple of minutes. Stay with us. Don't mind me. I'm Jason Page, back with you on this fantastic Monday. It's going to be about 100 degrees in Palm Springs, California today, where I do the show from. It was 110 all weekend. And if you've never lived in the desert before, you don't really understand what that feels like. I want you to go into your bathroom. If you have a hair dryer, if you have a wife or a husband that needs to blow dry their hair, and you want to know what 110 feels like, take the air dryer and leave it on you for about 10 minutes. On your face, not on your hair. And just blow it in your face. That's what Palm Springs feels like. It is just, it's the worst. But you get used to it. And it's not humid. It is truly a dry heat. And again, if you don't know the difference, if you live somewhere like, Florida and South Beach and Miami, that's what wet heat feels like. Here in Palm Springs, it's not like that. It really is a dry heat. Like I could take my clothes out of the washing machine, put them on my patio, and hang them out, and in 25, 30 minutes, they're completely dry. You never have to use the dryer, which I guess is a positive and makes up a little bit for the fact that you're running AC constantly. So at any rate, I want to get into, and we're going to replay our interview with Damon Hack from Golf Channel that I did on Friday, coming up in about 10 minutes or so, because I think it's really relevant to what's going on right now with golf, which I'll get to in a couple of minutes. But I want to start out this segment talking about what could wind up being the largest contract ever for a Major League Baseball player. It might wind up being the largest contract ever for anybody in the history of sports. Aaron Judge is putting together, in a season where Aaron Judge said, I'm going to bet on me. Aaron Judge is putting together one of the all-time great bet on me series. I'm not talking about one of the greatest seasons of all time of any player or anything like that, although the numbers could wind up being astronomical. But I'm talking about one of the great all-time bet on me seasons in the history of sports. Now, you'll remember, before the season started, the Yankees offered Aaron Judge, I think, $300 million. I forget how many years it was, so excuse me for not having the specifics in front of me at this second. I guess I should. But Aaron Judge said, okay, I'm not going to take that deal. For whatever reason, I was still shocked that he didn't accept a deal for over $300 million to stay in New York, to be the face of the Yankees. Who knows? Maybe he'd be the captain right now if he had taken that deal. And again, all of that stuff is probably more for Yankee fans to debate and get into. But Aaron Judge said, I'm not going to take the $300 million deal. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm not going to negotiate during the season. I wonder if that might change during the All-Star break. Maybe if he's still putting up these prolific numbers, something changes in that. But right now, the plan is Aaron Judge is not going to talk contract during the season. Maybe the Yankees try to break through. Maybe they just decide to wait it out with him. But Aaron Judge is having a season for the ages. In a contract year, at the age of 30, mind you, Aaron Judge is hitting .318, 24 home runs, 48 RBI. I mean, the numbers just, they speak for themselves at this point with what he's doing. He is on a pace right now. For, let's see, usually they have it here on the MLB, or the baseball reference site. See if I can find it. Nah, I can't find it. But he is on pace right now for an MVP season in his walk year with the Yankees. Something like 60 home runs. I mean, if you look at the Yankees' record right now, you can figure out they're basically a third of the way through the season. 60-plus home runs you're looking at. I mean, right now he's almost 40 points above his career batting average. So again, usually guys regress to the mean and will come closer to what their, baseball card numbers are. So even if he comes down to 300, playing in the biggest pressure cooker in sports, Aaron Judge is on pace to put up enormous numbers. And are we talking about a $400 million deal for Aaron Judge? Is that what we're looking at? Because if the Yankees don't give it to him, damn well somebody else is going to, I can promise you. Somebody's going to give Aaron Judge what he wants. It's just a question of which team, winds up jumping into the fray to do it. And is he going to want to go there? I mean, you want to talk about guys who regret just taking the money, going to certain situations? How do you think Javi Baez is feeling right now in Detroit? I believe he's hitting under 200. Oh, but he got a huge payday. But at what cost? What does it do to your career to be playing on a losing team? Granted, a team that is building and trending upward eventually with some of the young talent they have, and Javi Baez could be a part of that, and he's got opt-outs in his deal and stuff like that, but, Javi Baez is having a miserable season by any stretch. Had to take like a mental health day, it was going so bad. But it's not out of the realm of possibility right now that Aaron Judge, you're talking about a $400 million deal for Aaron Judge. He's the best player in baseball this year. Period. Full stop. His OPS right now is 1,077. That's his on-base percentage plus his slugging. 1.077. And he almost and that's a number he almost put up in another year where he should have won the MVP or could have won the MVP in 2017 when he went for 52 and 114. Here's the bottom line on Aaron Judge. When the guy is healthy, he is among the best players in baseball. And he's damn good defensively. He is a plus defensive guy. And they've got him in center field, which I'm not crazy about because he doesn't have center fielder speed. But he's just so long, and he's got such a great arm, and he's such a great athlete that he's able to make it work. But when Aaron Judge is healthy, 2017, 52, 114, 127 walks. And yes, that did come with 208 strikeouts, and you're going to get some strikeouts with Judge. Another year he's fully healthy. 148 games in 2021, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, hit 287. And again, that career average has always been around the 280s up until this year, where he's putting the ball in play more, 318. So when Aaron Judge plays, he produces. The problem is, since he's been in the league fully, he's only been healthy about half the time for the entire season. If you look at his, 6 years, well, this is his 6th year, not counting his first season in 2016 where he only plays 27 games and so on. But are you breaking the bank? Are you giving Aaron Judge $400 million? I argue you are. If you've got to give him 8 years, let's just say 8 years, and $400 million. It's just a crazy number to think of. It's $50 million a season, isn't it? That's 8 years, $400 million, right? That's $50 million a season. People are gonna. I mean, their jaws are gonna hit the floor when you hear me saying that number. But how are you not giving him that kind of money with the kind of output he's giving you? Again, if the Yankees don't, somebody else will. And the Yankees do have a great farm system. They have lots of guys that could step in and be great players potentially down the line. But you have potentially an all-time great right now with Aaron Judge, who's finally healthy. And like it or not, you're going to have to pay him. Speaking of payment, we've talked about this a little bit last week. The Live Golf situation with the PGA Tour, Charles Schwartzel. So interesting. There were two major golf events, or two golf organizations that had events this weekend. Live Golf had theirs in London. The PGA Tour had theirs in Canada. Rory McIlroy, much to the delight, I think, of the PGA Tour, won the event in Canada. He won $1.6 million for that. Charles Schwartzel won the Live Golf event in London. You know how much he made? $4 million for winning that event. Is that going to entice other players to go and play Live Golf, which only has 8 events on the calendar this year? I don't know. But Rory McIlroy made it a point to take a jab at Greg Norman, who's basically the guy running and being the face of this event, this league, this Live Golf thing. He made it a point to take a jab at him. Listen to what Rory said in his comments on CBS after the event had ended.
What does this win in this scene mean to you?
Yeah, it's incredible. Playing with Tony and JT today, 2 of the top players in the world, and all of us playing the way we did. I mean, I think the worst score of the group was 6 under par. This is a day I'll remember for a long, long time. 21st PGA Tour win, one more than someone else. That gave me a little bit of extra incentive today. And
now, for those that don't know, Greg Norman won 20 times when he was on the PGA Tour. Now Rory has won more than Greg Norman. Shots fired. Pew. Everybody duck. So it just tells you a little bit about what's going on the PGA Tour. And you got to imagine the players are talking about this. Jay Monahan put out a release this weekend. He did an interview with CBS Sports. We'll come back. We'll replay the conversation I had with Damon Hack on Friday, because I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about. From Golf Channel, does a great job on Opening Drive. Let you hear a little bit of what he had to say about this PGA Tour Live Golf controversy and where it goes from here. As we continue, I'm Jason Page. Thanks for being with us. Don't mind me. Don't mind me on this Friday, and I was looking forward to this all week because I've been trying to hold off talking about this story all week because I knew it was something we were going to get into with Damon Hack from Golf Channel, who gives us some time today here on the show and the podcast. Damon, I don't know where to begin because from the time I talked to you earlier in the week to get you on the show, there's been so many developments in this whole situation between the PGA Tour, the 17 players that have been suspended. I'll start, I guess, with what I would normally finish with, and that is, it feels like to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it feels like to me there's no winners in this. No matter how it all plays out, there's going to be no winners in this situation.
It feels like a seismic moment in the game and a sad moment in the game. Players that have been lauded and cheered for, players who have built their legacy on the PGA Tour, a handful of big time names, a World Golf Hall of Fame member, and Phil, two-time major champ, former world number one, in Dustin Johnson, former world number one, Lee Westwood. I mean, these aren't like run-of-the-mill guys. These are well-known, popular players who have decided to either turn their backs, that's to use the phrase of the commissioner of PGA Tour, Jay Monahan, on the tour where they built that legacy, and kind of, hitch their trailer to this upstart rival Saudi-backed golf league. And it's just been the story. It's like you said, every day the narrative changes a little bit, it develops, but it seems like we're headed toward courtrooms and lawyers and discussions about restrictions of trade and independent contractors, and also the Public Investment Fund, which is run by the Saudi government, which our own intelligence of the United States said was responsible for the murder of an American citizen journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. So there are a lot of tentacles to this story.
Yeah, there certainly is. Well, let me start from the Golf Channel perspective. And look, you don't obviously make the programming decisions there, but at the end of the day, how does Golf Channel even cover Live Golf? Does it? Has it made a decision we're not going to cover it because we have a relationship with the PGA Tour? I mean, not to put you on the spot, but how does Golf Channel handle this?
Well, I'll tell you how we handled it yesterday. I was in the chair for the most of the morning and afternoon as this story broke. We covered it as a news story. We covered it as a story about this upstart league where these players, had decided to play in the first event on Thursday in London. We showed Dustin Johnson hitting a tee shot. We showed Phil Mickelson hitting a tee shot. I mean, it was carried on YouTube.
Yes.
And then we ended up just kind of, showing the memo that was sent from Jay Monahan to the entire PGA Tour membership, saying that these players who have resigned or teed off with this league, they're facing sanctions. So yeah, we do have a long partnership with the PGA Tour, relationship with the PGA Tour, the LPGA as well, the DP World Tour, formerly European Tour. So our decision was to cover this as a news story. We showed a couple of shots. We're trying to be, and I can speak for myself as someone who wrote for the New York Times and Sports Illustrated. I'm trying to play it down the middle. Sometimes when I'm in that chair, I am asked to give my opinion. But yesterday, it was about the news. These big time players who have made millions of dollars on the PGA Tour are deciding or have decided to go to this league where they're getting a lot of upfront money, reportedly upwards of $200 million for Phil, $125 million for Dustin Johnson, big time money for Graham McDowell, a U.S. Open champ, Martin Keimer. I mean, these are it's not the strength of field. And we said this too, there are 5 out of the top 10 in the world in Canada yesterday and this week, and there are no top 10 players in London. So we're talking about the facts, and when we have opinion makers on and analysts on to talk about the money and kind of some of the maybe more nefarious aspects of this league, we do that as well.
Talking with Damon Hack of Golf Channel gives us some time here. Don't mind me on this Friday. Let's pretend it isn't about the money. Okay, just for a second, let's pretend when it comes to these 17 golfers and whoever else decides to go play in this thing, that it isn't about the money, that it isn't about the 120,000 guaranteed if you finish in dead last, that there is no cut. Let's pretend it isn't about that. What is the argument for people that are just kind of getting plugged into this story or trying to figure out what is this all about? What is the argument being made by the Sergio Garcias of the world, the Phils, the Dustin Johnsons, who are arguing for change on the PGA Tour? What is it they want?
They want control. They want a less busy schedule. To hear them tell it, they like that it's one less day of competitive golf, 54 holes versus 72 holes, 8 events, which allows them, and a lot of them from Sergio to Phil have said, oh, this gives me more time to spend at home with my family. Phil Mickelson told Bob Herrick, a longtime golf writer now at Sports Illustrated, that he had some gambling issues and needed to spend some time with his family to become a better man, better human being. And this allows him that as well. It's very hard to divorce the money conversation from it because it's just it's the elephant in the room. But yeah, to hear the players say it when they're not talking about the money or asked about the money, they're saying, hey, this is an interesting, different format. Shotgun start. Everybody's on the golf course at the same time. There's a team aspect to it as well. So they're trying to kind of draft off that Ryder Cup, President's Cup, Solheim Cup energy. I don't think they are there yet, by a long shot. But to hear them say it, it's more control of their schedule, of their life. And that's kind of the argument when you don't, talk about the money.
Whether this thing fails or succeeds, I think back to the first incarnation, if you will, or the first version of the XFL. And that first version of the XFL, while it went up in flames just spectacularly, it brought changes to the NFL. It made them move in a different direction, make it more fan friendly, different things that it added. And some things didn't obviously take hold, but some things did. Could you see a scenario where no matter how this thing winds up for Live Golf, some people think eventually the Saudis will lose interest and it'll go up in smoke, whatever. Do you think there are some things here that could take hold on the PGA Tour as they watch them play out on Live Golf?
It's a great question you asked, Jason, and I think the answer is yes. And I think that even before those tee shots were hit on Thursday in London, that the folks in Ponte Vedra at the PGA Tour were already thinking about ways that they can address some of the questions that some of the people on the PGA Tour have. Some of the players have complained about the length of the schedule or the lack of team events or the busyness of the schedule, or if you've made your mark in the game and you're one of the best players, why are you held to the same kind of standard as maybe if you're ranked 100th in the world? What I mean by that is Phil Mickelson's often talked about not wanting to play golf in the fall, where the larger percent of the players that maybe aren't, the best players in the world, they're trying to get those FedEx Cup points and get ahead, by stacking their schedule in the fall, and feels like, hey man, I don't want to be chasing these players that aren't as good as me. So let's kind of condense the schedule, shorten the schedule. That's one thing if you're Phil Mickelson, but if you're the 125th player in the world, you want to play as often as you can and make as much money as you can. But to answer your question, I do think there are some aspects that have forced the PGA Tour's hand, whether it's the PIP program, which is social media engagement, being paid for your Google impressions, and Tiger won the PIP, but that was no question in response to this growing threat from this rival golf league, whether it's paying the players more money, raising the purse of the FedEx Cup, raising the purse of the Players Championship, or considering some alternative format. There is no doubt that before those tee shots in London with Liv, and of course since, those conversations have happened, and I imagine will continue to happen.
Damon, I feel like, and I was thinking about this last night as I was prepping for this conversation, part of what makes golf great to view, and part of what makes has this lure to it, is the aspect of guys not making a dime unless they play well. That it builds the pressure. There's a difference between even solo second and T7. How many times do we see on a Sunday? Yeah, the outcome may be decided, but the guy putting on 18 who's just trying to get into the clubhouse who could get third place, and it means $250,000, and watching him stand over that putt. The guaranteed money aspect of this, I can't ever see that making it into the PGA Tour, because if it does, it forever changes the game. In a way that I think, it changes the pressure, it changes the moment, the dynamic completely changes.
It changes the DNA of the sport at the highest level. The old adage of play better.
Damon, I get rubber kneed standing over a 5-foot putt playing for $10 with my friends on a Sunday round at Stanley Golf Course in New Britain. I get nervous. So I again, it just, to me, it takes away so much of what makes this game great.
It really does. It's always been a part of golf, in the DNA of golf, that, you have to go out there and earn it and go get it And that's why a lot of the players on the PGA Tour have kind of preached their loyalty to it, their fealty to the PGA Tour. And I'm talking about Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, John Rahm. They are talking about, I mean, they're using the word legacy. Legacy is made on the PGA Tour, competitive greatness, having to, you eat what you kill. You have to go out there and make the putt to get the money in the bank. And this new league with seemingly bottomless money, at least for now, is completely anathema to how professional golf has been run for time immemorial.
Who steps in? Another thing I was thinking about last night. There's always, in any type of labor standoff, and to some degree, that's what this is. We've seen it in baseball over the years. We've seen it in football, basketball, hockey. Who's the savior here? Who's the person? Jack made some comments a week or two ago. I don't think those carry enough in terms of, getting guys to sort of think about this differently. I hate to bring it back to Tiger Woods, but is Tiger the guy who has to step up here? And as much as he's done for the game, I mean, God, the prize purses we see today, that's all Tiger Woods. I mean, that's all the big years of Tiger Woods that jacked up these prize purses because more people watch, sponsorships became bigger, all of that. The purses became bigger. Does it have to be Tiger? At some point, does Jay Monahan, if he hasn't already, reach out to Tiger Woods and say, hey, you got to jump in here and help save this?
Yeah, I just don't think that that's how Tiger is built. He did, say his piece a couple of weeks ago about him being all about the PGA Tour. I think he said it maybe even in LA when he was hosting his Riviera tournament before he came back for the Masters. So we're talking a couple of months ago now, and rumor was turning into reality of this live golf thing. I just don't think, as much as I think Tiger has evolved, and I think he has evolved, and he's become an elder statesman who likes his role as a mentor with these young players. I'm not sure he's going to be the guy. And I'm thinking about who it might be. And I thought about Arnold Palmer, the late, great Arnold Palmer, and how powerful his voice might be. And, Jack has spoken on it, but he also admitted that the Saudis have approached him and he said no. I think that the problem that I see here is that Greg Norman, the World Golf Hall of Fame member in his own right, has wanted to do something like this since the 1990s. It was in 94 when he proposed a World Golf Tour that the then PGA Tour Commissioner, Tim Fincham, all but squashed. And so for 30 years, Greg Norman has carried this chip on his shoulder, grudge, anger, to come up with something of his own. And now he has this powerful partner with more dollars than the PGA Tour can match at this point. And I don't think that there's a person beyond someone in a black robe, arbitrating this and having lawyers who I know Liv is already lawyering up, to borrow one of the phrases from Liv. And I know the PGA Tour has fantastic attorneys as well. So I just like baseball, as you mentioned, or the NFL when they were talking about scabs and lockouts and different things. I could easily see professional golf headed toward a very, very similar fate.
Dan Wetzel wrote a great piece on Yahoo yesterday that I was checking out, and he brought up the idea of the Masters. Is it the Masters that could hold the key to all of this?
It's a great question.
Is it the Masters that could potentially, if they decide to lock out these players, because all the majors are independent of the PGA Tour.
Correct.
That doesn't mean they won't side with the PGA Tour, but they're technically independent, and the Masters is the most independent as we know of them all. They could do whatever they want. Do they, has anybody, tried to read the tea leaves as far as the Masters is concerned yet, or are they just kind of sitting back and waiting to see how this plays out?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. We're in a position now in a point in time where the USGA, and I spoke to Mike Wan on Golf Today on Golf Channel, the CEO of the USGA, former commissioner of the LPGA. He said that at this point, with players already exempt into the U.S. Open, they did not think it was right to remove players who had earned their exemptions because they wanted to play for a rival league. They are, as in their words, the most open championship in golf. And I think we'll see similar responses from the R&A when it comes to exempt players into the Open Championship, which of course is at the old course at St. Andrews. So then you do flip the calendar to 2023, and you know that these players will not be allowed to play the Players Championship in March. So as you mentioned, Augusta National, the first major championship of the year at the Masters. What will Fred Ridley, former U.S. amateur champion, former head of the USGA, someone who has been progressive, in his chair, in areas of diversity, and doing things to kind of move golf into a more modern era. What will he decide to do when it comes to the decision of a three-time Masters champion in Phil Mickelson and the 2020 Masters champion in Dustin Johnson? And as Mike Whan, I thought, smartly said, we have no idea what the game is going to look like next year. What will LIV look like? And Mike also said the decision I'm making today doesn't mean that I can't change my mind. And the way he talked about his support of Jay Monahan and how he might, I got the sense that he was kind of holding his nose as he made this decision, that he doesn't necessarily love what he's seeing going on overseas. But I do think that one potential stopgap, loud voice, big seat at the table in this back and forth could be Fred Ridley and the members of Augusta National when it comes to one of the most important, famous, influential golf tournaments on the planet.
Of all the guys that jumped ship so far, what was the one that kind of took your breath away the most? Was it Phil?
It's a great question. I think it was Phil. I mean, Sergio, I'm not surprised. Lee Westwood, his time of life. In my conversations with other people in the game, I keep going back to where we were with Phil a year ago and the joyful moment that he gave golf by becoming the oldest major championship winner ever, taking that PGA in Kiowa in South Carolina. And I was there, Jason, and I'm watching him basically walk, into the gloaming on this beautiful Sunday night. And I'm thinking, man, this guy can do whatever he wants now. He can be Tony Romo, John Smoltz, Troy Aikman, Charles Barkley. He has the gift of gab, and he has the game in his hands. And I just thought that, wow, what a powerful image this is, and what a powerful spot that he is in. And I'm shocked that 1 year later, he arrives in London looking unkempt, having taken this time away and decided that his 6 major championship resume, World Golf Hall of Fame resume, Players Champion resume, PGA Tour built resume, legacy as a fan favorite. When Tiger was inaccessible, there was Phil signing autographs till his hand hurt. Like that guy decided that the upfront, easy way out money was better than the ticket he could have written and the relationships he had from a corporate standpoint, sponsors, Callaway, KPMG, Amstel Light, you name it, he had it. I'm just surprised that a competitor like him would go to this upstart league, which doesn't have the competitive quality, and turn his back on the legacy that he really built during an incredible top 10 ever career on the PGA Tour.
It makes you wonder, though, if all of that was to some level media driven, that we really never. So there you have it. Thoughts with Damon Hack, and plenty to say about the LIV Golf situation. It is interesting. I just want to throw this in. Somebody hit me up on Twitter over the weekend and said Golf Channel is basically censoring their talent and not letting them talk about LIV Golf. Now, I have to be honest, I have not watched Golf Channel since my conversation with Damon on Friday, so I can't speak to whether or not that's true. But given the fact that they let Damon Hack come on this show and this podcast and talk as candidly as he did about LIV Golf, both the good, bad, and the ugly of it all, and how it meshes with the PGA Tour, I don't think, and again, I may be proven wrong on this, and if I am, I'll be the first to jump up and say it. I don't think Golf Channel is censoring their guys when it comes to talking about this. Now, again, they have deals with the PGA Tour, the European Tour, Korn Ferry, all these different elements that are linked to the PGA Tour. So I'm not inside the room. I don't have any idea. But I don't think the PGA Tour would be censoring their guys from talking about LIV Golf. It's just too tied into what they're doing. I mean, you can't talk about the absence of Phil Mickelson from the PGA Tour without talking about LIV Golf. So I'd be surprised if they were being censored, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Again, they let Damon Hack come on here. There were no restrictions. I wasn't told by Damon or anybody else I couldn't talk to him about LIV Golf. So I tend to believe there isn't a censorship going on, but maybe they're just trying to figure out where it all fits in the overall scheme of things. Now, there isn't another LIV Golf event for a couple of weeks, so we'll see how it all plays out. All right, well, it's best bet time. I've stunk to high heaven on these best bets. I'm 0-3. If you've been betting with me or betting on me, you're not very happy with me right now. And it's so hard to get a gauge on these NBA finals. And that's the logical place to go for the best bet. Every game's been a double-digit game, so the spread to me almost seems irrelevant. It's just who's going to win. Boston came out, won game 1. The Warriors had a big third quarter, won game 2. Boston came back, won game 3, dominated that game for 3 of the 4 quarters. Stephen Curry goes off for a 40-burger, and you wind up with the Warriors winning game 4. So what does it mean for game 5? Hell if I know. Hell if I know right now. I haven't been right on anything in this series. You know what? No best bet today. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to have a best bet. But here's what I'll say. The Warriors right now have momentum on their side. I would take the Warriors -4. There you go. Golden State -4 against Boston tonight. That's your best bet. That's all I got. I'm out of time. They tell me I got to go, so I'm going. Who's they? I have no idea. We're back with you on Tuesday. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the Decibel 88 channel, click the button down there. Make sure to like us. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, the Don't Mind Me with Jason Page podcast, which will start populating your podcast feeds. I'm Jason Page. I'll catch you back here on Tuesday. Don't mind me. See ya.